Good evening, Bahamas. Coming up tonight on our news.
Could this be the end of the political road for Bramble McCartney? Tonight, the DNA leader discusses a possible departure from frontline politics.
Former PLP MP Fred Mitchell reveals who he believes should lead the party.
5 men face drug charges in the magistrate's court.
Well, it's a back-to-school rush for parents and students alike.
Our news is brought to you by Alive, the nation's newest and best LTE network.
Good to be alive.
Welcome to our news and thanks for joining us. I'm Vonik Tood. Topping news tonight, after leading the Democratic National Alliance into 2 general election defeats, Bramble McCartney is considering hanging it all up. In a candid interview with Kyle Joaquin today, McCartney said the Bahamian people sent him a very strong message twice and he got it.
You know, I've done my best as to what I think I can do from a political point of view, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's the end. And so we'll see what the future holds.
The sit-down was as candid and straightforward as it could get. Bramble McCartney says he has given politics his best effort.
There may be a new leader of the DNA. And I'm very supportive of that. Very supportive of that. In terms of me being in some form or fashion in the political arena, that's still yet to be seen, and that's the honest truth.
After a rough departure from the Free National Movement under the leadership of Hubert Ingram in 2011 to heading his own party, McCartney said he's tried, but the Bahamian people clearly wanted otherwise.
And I've held a leadership position for the last 2 elections, and the last election, our support dwindled. Now, we've gotten reports back as to why that happened. We've gotten reports back, and primarily saying that people wanted the PLP out. Personally, I don't totally buy that. I know people wanted the PLP out, but I don't totally buy the content of what that is saying, because if that were the case, I think we could have been opposition, we could have gotten some seats, that sort of thing.
After 2 election cycles, the DNA failed to secure even 1 seat in Parliament, getting less than half the votes in the recent general election than it did back in 2012. The party's deputy leader has already expressed interest in seeking the top post whenever a convention is called. And having gone from a cabinet post to 2 failed election attempts, we asked McCartney what has he learned from his time in frontline politics.
The Bahamian people are not ready for change. Period.
And that change, he said, is all around, even as yet another woman, Glenys Hannah Martin, seeks to become leader of a major political party. It's a change he feels the country isn't ready for.
Again, that's change, and I don't know if the country's ready for change. That does not mean that we ought not to have a female leader. A female leader, we have females in this country who can lead this country. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. But whether we are ready for it as a country, I don't think so.
Again, the DNA leader says by the end of September, there should be some sort of announcement as to the date for the DNA's convention and the way forward for the party. Reporting for our news, I'm Kyle Joaquin.
Leader of opposition business in the Senate, Fred Mitchell, is throwing his support behind Philip Brave Davis, who is being challenged by fellow MP Glenys Hannah Martin for the Progressive Liberal Party's leadership post. Mitchell says while it will be an intense race, it will not be a dirty one. Jasmine Brown reports.
Mitchell says his stance on the matter is obvious, as he says it's clear Davis is the right person to lead the party.
So he's done a good job in stabilizing the country and would make a good leader of the country. Oh yes, he has my support.
When asked if he thinks the race will be contentious like the FNM's leadership race in 2016, Mitchell said,
"This is not trench warfare. I mean, I think all the parties know each other, and there's not going to be that kind of thing."
Davis became interim leader of the party after former leader Perry Christie retired from frontline politics. It followed the loss of his Centerville seat. Davis will go head-to-head with Anglerston MP Glenys Hannah Martin, who announced her leadership bid during a press conference this week. Mitchell, who has been traveling the country with Davis since the election, says Davis has held the party together since its crushing defeat at the polls, which proves he is the man for the job.
I spoke about the issue of stabilizing the organization since the election.
As for if he plans on running for a post when the convention is held in October, Mitchell says he is satisfied being a cheerleader on the sidelines.
Essentially, what I'm trying to do is to get members of the PLP to stop wringing their hands and get over this election defeat and to get going, because we have now 57 months left before the election takes place, and I'm interested in winning 2022.
Reporting for our News, I'm Jasmine Brown.
The government does not expect China's shift in investment policy to affect investments in the Bahamas, such as The Point, according to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. China's policy shift sparked fears that multiple Chinese-backed ventures in the Bahamas, including Bahamar and The Point Development, could be impacted. However, the ministry said in a statement today, government is of the view that the new policy will have no impact as such investments were approved developments. The statement continues, the Bahamas is confident that its ongoing excellent relations with China will continue. A ban has been placed on the Chinese government and its entities from owning casinos. They are also restricted from property and hotel investments. 5 men were charged in the magistrate's court today in connection with a multi-million-dollar drug bust in Exuma. Giorgio Bain has the details.
Officers of the Drug Enforcement Unit bring 5 men they believe to be connected with Saturday's multi-million-dollar drug bust off the islands of Exuma to the magistrate's court. 42-year-old Ricardo Cooper of West End, Grand Bahama, seen wearing the blue T-shirt. 23-year-old Everett Burrows of Murphytown, Abaco, seen wearing the white T-shirt. 34-year-old Travis Sayers of Georgetown, Exuma, seen wearing the yellow polo shirt. 24-year-old Keith Thompson of Williamstown, Exuma, seen wearing the red T-shirt. And 24-year-old Randy Munnings of Williamstown in the red jacket all appeared before Magistrate Janine Weech Gomez in Court Number 8 to answer to various drug charges in connection with a major drug bust in waters off Exuma. According to police reports, sometime around 7 a.m. on Saturday, DEU officers led a joint operation with officers of the Marine Support Unit. Acting on intelligence, the team entered waters off Williamstown, Exuma, where they intercepted a 32-foot go-fast vessel. On board, they discovered 65 bales of suspected Indian hemp, which weighed 3,201 pounds and had an estimated street value of $3.2 million. The 5 men were charged with conspiracy to possess and to import dangerous drugs. Cooper entered a guilty plea to both charges, while the other men entered a not guilty plea. Cooper, Burrows, and Sayers were also charged with possession of dangerous drugs with intent to supply and importation of dangerous drugs. Cooper entered a guilty plea to both charges, and the other men pled not guilty. All of the defendants had legal representation except for Cooper. Cooper will return to court on Monday for sentencing under Magistrate Andrew Forbes, while the other 4 men will be remanded to the Bahamas Department of Corrections, returning to court on November 6. Reporting for our News, I'm Giorgio Bain.
2017 BGCSE exam results released by the Ministry of Education today reveal that fewer students received at least a grade C or above in core subjects mathematics, English language, and science when compared to last year. However, the number of students who obtained a minimum grade of D in at least 5 subjects increased. Jasmine Brown takes a look at the numbers.
Newly released results detailed in a 21-page document show that 25,101 students took the BGCSE exam this year. 15,233 were female and 9,868 were male. Approximately 51% of those students received grades D and below. In fact, there were 710 U grades, 1,184 G grades, 1,936 Fs, 3,496 E grades, and 5,569 D grades. The U grade indicates that the candidate has failed to show positive achievement in the subject. The number of Cs also slightly declined this year, with 7,065 students scoring a C. That's 19 fewer Cs than were scored in 2016. But the results were not all bad, as they also showed more students earned As and Bs. 2,141 students received an A, while 3,000 students received a B. That's compared to 2,109 students who got A's in 2016 and 2,853 who got B's. As for who scored what, females continue to outperform their male counterparts, receiving higher percentages at A to C and lower percentages at E to U. Meantime, 12,120 students sat the BJC examination. 1,484 candidates scored a C or higher. Reporting for our news, I'm Jasmine Brown.
As the new school year begins, police outline their plans to tackle school violence, warning a culture of violence in local schools will not be tolerated. April Sands reports.
Amid heightened concern over violence in schools, police are making clear that they have no tolerance for bad behavior this school year. Earlier this year, a 12-year-old 7th grade student was charged with illegal firearm possession. It followed the stabbing of a student at Government High School and injuries to 2 other students during a campus brawl. Assistant Commissioner Ashton Greenslade says police are stepping up their presence on school campuses. And police say there will be a minimum of 2 officers at each school, and they plan to crack down on students who participate in gang violence.
At present, we have some schools we have 2 officers, some schools we have 1. But like I said earlier, we have additional resources checking on them throughout the day.
Those aren't the only steps police are taking to keep kids safe.
We'll have more patrols, more mobile units checking, making periodic checks on all of the schools throughout New Providence.
Officers of the traffic division are also on alert as thousands of students head back to school next week.
Again, we are faced with that every motorist's dilemma of the back-to-school rush come Monday morning. The police traffic department, our initiative, same as last year, the years before, we are asking motorists to exercise a bit more extreme caution.
Officer in charge of the traffic division, Chief Superintendent Craig Stubbs, says traffic police will be posted throughout New Providence during peak traffic hours.
We're going to notice the peak time of travel along those major corridors: Gladstone Road, Samaila Butler Highway, Tonic Darling Highway, Joe Farrington Road, Prince Charles Drive corridors. We're asking motorists to be more cautious again. Once you reach those intersections which are controlled by a traffic signal that is the light, do not block the intersection.
And as public school students prepare to go back to the classroom, the new school year has already begun for the majority of private schools.
Well, it's nothing short of the usual. It's a huge hustle and bustle for those headed back to school, but we've got a few heads up to ease that back to school rush.
To beat the rush, you do it early. I purchased a school uniform from early July, so I got a head start on that. So it was smooth sailing. Yeah. You just have to do it early.
Yes.
You don't wait until the last minute, because then you will get that rush.
One parent said the traffic isn't a bother for him, as he's happy to finally get the kids out of the house.
It feels good. The house is quiet. Me and the wife got more time together, but it's good. Well, we left home about 7:45 because the first day was really, really bad.
Yeah.
But after school, it'll be worse. Picking up.
You experienced traffic on your way to school this morning?
A little.
I'm looking forward to doing good in my classes, getting higher grades, and doing good in my BGCSEs.
One school security guard says his tactic in keeping the school together is through a team effort.
We build good relationship with the children and stuff like that. And even if you see them littering and stuff like that, we tell them, hey, there's no littering allowed and stuff like that. You have to pick up whatever you throw on the ground and stuff like that. And whatever they're doing wrong, we make sure and tell them, instead of taking them to the office and stuff like that. We talk to them and stuff like that. There's nothing we can do anymore than we have to take them into the office and stuff like that. At the administrator, let them do what they have to do and stuff like that.
Reporting for our news, I'm April Sands.
Still to come on our news, Met Department officials monitoring Hurricane Irma, plus how effective are trade unions. That's coming up when our news returns.